Laura Ingraham had a former CIA official on her Fox News show, and this is such a telling moment, and it is mind-boggling, and it is infuriating, and it's not getting any play anywhere else in the media except among, left-wing circles. I'd argue principled left-wing circles who actually care about, these issues deeply. But let's take a look and then we'll discuss.
Have we ever tried to meddle in other countries' elections?
Oh, probably, but it was for the good of the system in order to avoid the communists from taking over. For example, in Europe, in 47, 48, 49, the Greeks and the Italians, we
don't do that now, though? We don't mess around other people's elections, Jim?
Only for a very good cause.
Can you do that? Do a Vine video on a former CIA director.
Only for a very good cause in the interests of democracy.
All right, thanks for being here. It's always great to see you.
That's amazing. It's amazing because we're currently in the midst of Russia hysteria, where the fact that there were Russian Twitter trolls who were sowing discord in the U.S. by using social media and arguing on both sides of many issues, we're using that as like, oh my God, our hair's on fire. This is Russian Pearl Harbor. We should escalate with Russia over this. We should silence dissent on social media over this. So everybody's going nuts in the U.S. over fucking Russian Twitter trolls. Meanwhile, former head of the CIA asked point blank, hey, did we meddle in elections? Yeah. We're not doing it anymore, are we? Blah, 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 blah. It's so funny. So, listen, the point is, if you think our actions stop at fucking Twitter trolls in other countries, boy, do I have a bridge to sell you. Because the whole history of the CIA is supporting puppet regimes that will back U.S. corporate power. That's the whole history of the United States, of the CIA in the United States. So when he says at the end, well, but it's to support democracy around the world, that's a lie. It's not to support democracy. In fact, the United States backs 73% of the world's dictatorships. So when he says, oh, we're doing it to back democracies, that's just a flat-out lie. It's untrue. What we do is we rig the game there, because what we say is you are by definition a democracy if we back you. Even if it is just empirically the case that they are not a democracy, whatever country in question we're talking about, we will declare them like, they're democratic values. They embrace them. So you look at Saudi Arabia. They go, yeah, well, kind of, sort of, not really. Since they're with us, it's democracy or it's reforming. You'll always see articles in corporate media about how, finally the Arab Spring in Saudi Arabia and the Enlightenment and democracy is coming to Saudi Arabia, even though it's not there. Yes. Israel was the only democracy in the Middle East. You're leaving out quite a bit of information there, aren't you, buddy? Like, I don't know, permanent apartheid and illegal occupation and violations of international law and settlements and... kind of important, wouldn't you say? Nope, because if you're with us, we'll make every bullshit argument imaginable to try to bolster you. We'll pretend like we only do it to back democracies. 73% of the world's dictatorships the United States of America backs. Now, furthermore, you want to run through the history of the CIA? Shit. Look at South America. Virtually every South American country toppled their democratically elected government, put in a puppet, because we thought, oh my God, if we don't do this, number one, we can't jack their natural resources for our corporations. And number two, communism's coming. If we don't stop communism in fucking Vietnam, then it's going to be in Nebraska in 7.5 minutes. So these are bullshit arguments that have been made for the United States to continually be the world's sole superpower and imperialist power. We jack your natural resources, we maintain dominance around the world, and then we lie about it. And that's what's happening right here. So, we toppled Iran's democratically elected government, Mohammad Mossadegh. In 1953, the CIA overthrew Mohammad Mossadegh. Why? Because Mohammad Mossadegh was going to nationalize Iran's oil and give the people of Iran the revenue from that oil. But at the time, the United States and Britain were getting that oil super cheap. So we go, nope, we're not going to let that happen. Toppled him, put in the Shah, a dictator who ruled until the 1979 revolution. So listen, man, this is what we do. And for people who say, like, you know, nah, it's only back in the past. The CIA obviously now holds hands and sings Kumbaya with people, and they frolic in the meadow, and they do lovely things. Total bullshit. The CIA, they were front and center in the torture scandal. So, you know how we tortured innocent people and held them at Guantanamo Bay with no due process and no habeas corpus? Well, the CIA was instrumental in doing the torture. The CIA, we're talking about sleep deprivation, we're talking about what they call Palestinian hangings, mock burials, anal rape torture, what they called anal feeding. They would shove a tube up there and pump liquid food up your ass, which led to blisters, and that's not a thing. Doctors don't anally feed anybody. It was an attempt to torture them by fucking anally raping them. This is what we did. We took our tactics from an old school communist Chinese manual on how to torture. This is the CIA. This is what they do. This is who they are. So it's not just that we used to meddle in elections. We used to overthrow fucking governments that didn't back us and our corporations and allow us to jack their resources. And it's not that just used to be the case. We still engage in many of these actions today. So that's what's so frustrating. Now listen, this doesn't excuse any of this shit that Russia could be doing. Of course it doesn't. But what it shows is the wanton, brazen, disgusting hypocrisy of mainstream U.S. discourse, where they focus on, to steal from, I think it's a Bible saying, they focus on the speck in the other person's eye when they have a fucking branch in their eye. And that's what's so frustrating, is that even when we do way worse offenses, way more than just fucking paid Twitter trolls, not discuss, and they laugh about it. They fucking laugh about it. And this is the U.S. approach to international law, man. When we do it, it's okay. When you do it, it's so horrendous and evil and wrong that regime change is appropriate. Seriously, that's the argument. If somebody else does 1/100th what we do, we go, rogue nation under international law, and they're ripe for regime change. But meanwhile, when our country, for example, offensively invades a country that didn't attack us in an illegal war, occupies that country, kills minimum 200,000 civilians, does torture, we're like, what do you mean? It's totally fine, right? Doesn't matter. We're allowed to do that stuff. When we do it, it's okay. When you do it, it's such a horrible offense that we might have to overthrow your government. That's what I object. That's the core of my objection. And that's one of the reasons why I always found Noam Chomsky so appealing, is because he's the last man on the planet that seems to actually try to uphold international law in an objective way. That's all he does. That's Noam Chomsky's whole thing when it comes to politics, is here's international law, here's the 1,000 ways we violate it, and here's how we act like it's totally fine when we do it, but when anybody else does it, it's the biggest crime imaginable. And if you don't see that at this point, you're just brainwashed by propaganda. You're just brainwashed by mainstream media propaganda. You know, Noam Chomsky spoke about this in Manufacturing Consent, the way that corporate media actually acts more subservient to power systems in the U.S. than even state media in other countries acts to their respective governments. Isn't that? And this shows it right here. Laura Ingraham laughing with the CIA. The whole job of the media is to question those in authority and power. Question systems of hierarchy and dominance and coercion. And what does Megyn Kelly do? Or Megyn Kelly. Laura Ingraham. But I'm sure Megyn Kelly would do the same thing. What does Laura Ingraham do? Yes, we interfere in elections all the time. We overthrow governments all the time. But it's okay when we do it because we're the good guys by definition. That's how you get a situation where we had the war in Iraq, minimum 200,000 civilians died. We do torture. We have the drone war right now where we're bombing 8 different countries right now, and nobody in the U.S. bats an eyelash. No, certainly nobody in our government. They all support it. They all support it because it's baked into the cake of the system in the U.S. We've been propagandized with it from when we're a young age, that we're the good guys. We're the good guys. So when we do it, we mean well, so it's okay. So all those dead, innocent civilians, we have blood on our hands, but we tell pretty little lies to ourselves. Like, well, we meant well, so it doesn't really matter, and our intentions are good. And And the final point I'll make on this is I really want you to critically examine that argument about how wonderful our intentions are, because think about it. Boil it down to a personal level, and then you'll really get how preposterous it is. So somebody on Monday hops in their car and goes to work, but they accidentally run over somebody and kill them. They get brought up on manslaughter charges. They get found not guilty. But then that same person on Tuesday gets in their car and does the same thing. And then on Wednesday, they get in their car and they kill 2 civilians with their car. And then you go through the rest of the week, every day, for 6 years. They drive their car and they murder anywhere from 1 person to 4 people a day with their car. At what point is it okay to start questioning the intentions of the person doing that? Oh, well, it was an accident. It's collateral damage. Really, I was just, I don't know why. My intentions are wonderful. I mean well, but it just so happens that I kill somebody virtually every single fucking day with my car. You would call bullshit on that super fucking quickly. But when the United States is bombing 8 different countries, as we're doing right now, and we kill thousands of innocent civilians each year now, just from drones, not even getting into the fact that we're still boots on the ground in Iraq, boots on the ground in Afghanistan, now boots on the ground and we're indefinitely in Syria. At what point would you say, hey, you know what, maybe this is actually nefarious? Maybe it's okay to call the U.S.'s actions nefarious, because what we're really doing this for is power and control and natural resources and maintaining our position as the world's sole superpower. So maybe it is okay to call into question our motives and our intentions. And, at the very, very least, you say we are wantonly, criminally negligent, and we simply don't give a shit if we massacre civilians at all. So if it achieves a broader political goal, who gives a shit? Kill as many civilians as you want. And that is the definition of terrorism. Doing violence against civilians for political or religious reason. That's terrorism. But nobody in U.S. media will call us the terrorists. Nobody will call the CIA a terrorist organization. Well, I'm here to do that, because that's what they fucking are.